Hey guys, welcome back to the layout. So today I've got a small layout update for you. As you can see, the yard is nice and empty, or for the most part, and there's a reason for that. So let's go ahead and get started. Just as a side note, I'm actually holding the camera right now. I'm not on a tripod, so I'm going to try to take her slow, but I apologize for any bumpy or shakiness or speediness. So let's get started. You can see that it is very empty. And why that's empty is because when I put in my foam road bed, I started using the small window shims out of wood, and I just kind of cut them to size, which worked great up until I kind of got to the yard. Now, this got changed around a bunch because what happened was this switch here actually used to be resting right up against this switch, and the same to the other side, we'll see. And what that meant is the kind of the secondary line where the switch came off kind of came down here, which led to this switch, which was actually, this is a left hand, it actually went to a right hand. So this was our straight through, and this was this secondary on the old switch. Which was all dandy and fine, other than the fact that we're taking it about a centimeter, about 9 millimeters. I find 9 millimeters. No, I'm way off. 6. Sorry, 6. I think it's about 6 millimeters. However high that foam road bed is, we have to take a nice ramp down, and if nobody has told you this or you haven't figured this out on your own. Switches and gradients don't really work together. I spent hours trying to adjust all of my ramps, cutting them shorter, moving them forward and backwards, and after a couple hours, on both sides even, and I would get them working on some locomotives and not all, or I'd get them to the point where the whiskers on the couplers, would not hit, but then they would decouple, and it was a disaster. I was pretty frustrated, and out of kind of frustration, kind of realizing what I had to do, I ripped up some track, and with the foam and the Woodland Scenic glue, which is basically just the Elmer's white glue, it's real easy. You just squirt water and wait 5 to 10 minutes. It turns white, and you just lift it up and pry it up, and you can see it took some, let's see if we can get down there here. It took some paint off in some areas, very small, and then that's mostly just me being impatient, because a lot of areas it didn't take any paint whatsoever. But basically I moved this back, and you can see, so it's level. Excuse this part, I had to cut that out for the foam road bed because this part sticks up a bit, and there doesn't seem to be anything I can do, so I just kind of cut into it to make it level. But so kind of it looks bad, but I'll take care of that later. But this is completely level. The switch is completely level, and then you can see the ramp up here. So I switched that around, and that was great. Over here, this one was quite the nightmare, because again, we had a right-hand switch resting up against this crossover, and then we had a left-hand switch coming straight down the secondary going to here in the primary. They were laid out just like this all the way up. Well, again, even worse so than over there, I had tons of problems, and I actually spent a lot more time with this, and I thought I had gotten it. I laid it out like this, and I had a nice long ramp. Until I tested, and my whiskers started getting caught right here. Oh boy, was I upset. Not really. It's just you get in such a groove of working. I mean, I glued it down because I tested, and it's like I glued it down too much. Anyways, so I ripped it up, and again, wasn't patient, so I ripped up some paint. No damage to the foam or anything, just the paint. And you can see I cut it much shorter, to the point where if I zoom out a smidge, kind of give you an aerial view, I actually cut out a little bit here. And then I have a nice little piece of cardboard. So a long time ago, I read on some forums that people use cardboard to make ramps, and I was like, oh yeah. You know, you do what you got to do. And the fact is, I cut it down to size and it works. And it works perfect. And I tested with countless cars, all my locomotives. I have my brother-in-law's Norfolk, wow, I can't even say it's that late. Norfolk Southern SD9, number 54. I believe he's custom painted this himself and put the decals on it and weathered it up. Anyways, so it's just so different than my stuff. Now his whiskers are cut, but it's a lot less forgiving because of the spread out 6 axles. The only other 6 axle I have is my my 630M, and it's got a different configuration. So anyways, I tested with everything, and long story short, it seems to work awesome. But while I was doing that, I knocked over so many cars that I just decided to move them all out of the way. Well, then I thought, they're all out of the way, I might as well do my wiring and my gluing, because excuse me, with the pins, the only locomotive that really seemed to ignore them was my little S2, which still kind of, you could see it bump over, but the Bowser didn't like it whatsoever, and both Atlases really didn't like it, and the Bachmann just went over it. But again, so I wanted to rip these pins up, but I couldn't glue it down, so I added some feeders. Now I made kind of a mess because I had too big a drill bit on. I was using like 1664 or 1964ths, and wow, those were just too big. So you can see that I really, like, here's a set here that's much smaller. But basically, I powered all these tracks. So we've got power, just because these are kind of follow-through tracks, and then power, and power, which goes there. Now what I'm going to do here, I've already drilled the holes. I might have one here, although it's kind of pointless. But I'm thinking this right stall, so my PR3, I'm going to have a double pull, double throw, on, off, on switch. And I think that's going to be my programming track, that far one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate it, and I'm going to have one switch, like the switch on one side being running, then off, then program track on the other, kind of thing. So I'll likely make that far one, so I'm going to have to isolate that, but that'll be fine. But anyways, so once it's all wired, I can glue it. So it's all glued down now. I glued that down like yesterday. It's pretty well dry, still a little bit white. Can't really notice it on the camera, but looks awesome. So I'm really excited. Oh, and I finally, I've been putting this off since I laid track. I finally cut this dirty, disgusting piece of flex track because it's the only stuff I had long enough, and it's terrible, but I got it, and it works fine. Got the ramp in, tested it. I ended up splitting that with a pin, but works good, so that's awesome. But I took this time to, you know, I still cut it, so to get the switch out, I can just, oops, sorry. To get the switch out, I can just move the fish plates, or sorry, the rail joiners out, take this, just lift it straight up or out, kind of thing. I'm just gonna zoom out. So that's pretty awesome. So that's pretty much it. Wiring is nothing fancy. I actually kind of went a little crazy. So with most of the stuff, now let's see if we can drop down here. With most of these stuff, I've got a 4-block terminal. Yeah, kind of a 4-port terminal block on each side. And you know what? I might have a diagram even. So I tend to try to, ooh geez, wrecking the place. Kind of try to write everything down. So my terminal block, you can see that's an input for for A, input for B, and it's kind of copied over with the wire, and then the bus continues, but the feeder goes up to the track. It's not a professional drawing, it was just me brainstorming. I kind of stuck with it. Anyways, I just shorted out my layout with the book. Whoops, we're just gonna turn this off. Sorry trains. Anyways, with the switch, I kinda, no, with the yard, I kinda lied. I didn't lie. But I changed my mind, and I kind of made just one straight terminal block for each, and I just kind of put it all together. Now, I am waiting on clips to go into the wood to clip this all up to make it nice and neat so it's not hanging down, because I tend to misjudge wire lengths and cut them too long. I'd rather have them too long than too short, but I go ahead and I solder them, and I don't want to recut and solder, so it's not perfect, but it's not too bad. So I've got I'm almost done wiring the entire layout track wise, and I'm gonna buy a Digitrax PM42 in the near future. I've already got it kind of wired up here where I've got the 3 separate inputs just copied from my main booster, my DCS 100. It goes to 3 different things. You can see I've split it up with main, spur, and yard. And what the PM42 is gonna do is I'm going to use a circuit breaker. I don't have any reverse loops, so I'm just going to use the circuit breaker features, and it's going to be pretty sweet. And that way, you know, if you're working in the yard and I do that, it's not going to shut off the main or the spurs. And basically how I set that up is the yard being one, where I'm going to basically isolate here. The main all the way around is 1. And the spur, I call it the spur, but kind of the branch line is all going to be 1, and all the branches are also going to be connected. Now over here is kind of special, where I've got these wired as spurs, but this is the main, so I'm going to cut it there and up there as well. And just that way, if something does short out, I still have productivity for most of the layout. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't know how long this video is. Probably pretty freaking long, and I apologize. Hopefully it's not too long. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. If you're not already and you want to be, go ahead and subscribe for more videos. It's gonna start being much more regular than once a month or once every month and a half. It's gonna be probably at least once a week, probably more, because during the colder months I tend to hide in my house and work on my trains. So until next time, guys. Oh, if you have any criticism, or you kind of want to know any more info, questions, criticism, comments, just go ahead and leave them down below, or feel free to private message me, but up to you guys. And until next time, enjoy your bacon.